Hello everyone, so it's been a while since I've done any updates on my fish tanks, and that is because we were moving houses and we moved into a slightly larger apartment which will provide me hopefully with more options to slightly expand my aquarium hobby. But also we moved to another city, so that was quite a labor intensive move, lots of packing, unpacking, assembling, disassembling furniture and all sorts of things that house moves normally involve. So this is where all our fish at the moment. This is a very temporary setup. You can see it's not really scaped properly. It's just kind of a tank. Well, that's a tank which we had in our bedroom where I've put all the fish. There were some casualties. I actually lost about 3 cardinal tetras and 2 pencil fish during the move, but I think they were already quite old and they just didn't make it through, so that was quite a stressful experience for them. But the rest of the fish, more than 15 corridors and tetras, some otacinclus, they are all doing great and they are in this tank. So all this bogwood, all this decorations, all sort of a leaf litter stuff is from the previous setup, and I just added it here to create some sort of a comfortable environment for them, while all of these things are just very temporary because I have quite a lot of plans in terms of expanding my hobby. But that's what it is for now. Actually, the fish seem to be comfortable. In terms of riparian plants, sadly I've tried to preserve them. I tried to keep their roots wet. I tried to keep them in a moist environment during the move. Unfortunately, peace lilies, they didn't make it through. Pothos plants, they also did not make it through, sadly, so I've lost all of them, which is of course a very sad development because I was expecting that they will survive the move. And at the end of this video I will show you the last hours of our previous Reparium setup, which we had in our bedroom, with all this lush riparian plants growing on top of it, this huge lilies, and how I packed them for the move, but unfortunately they didn't make through the move. Right, so this is how the tank looks for now, and it's a small tank. It's a 140 liter setup which we had in our bedroom. But in terms of my plans for future, so this is a tank that I'm going to be setting up, and it's a large shallow tank. It's a 160 centimeter over 5 feet long tank. It's shallow. It's only 5 centimeters high, so it's a bit over a foot high, and it's 60 centimeter wide, 2 feet wide. It's a custom made tank, and it should be a very interesting project to set up, because there will be chance to create this sort of a shallow biotopy environment with lots of riparian plants, lots of bogwood. I have lots of bogwood actually. All of this is a driftwood which I've assembled over the time. So this is actually where quite a lot of our plants from previous Reparium projects are living. I've set up this sort of a refugium or a small farm a while ago before the move, anticipating that a lot of these plants will not survive if I'll just pack them the way I packed my peace lilies. And the plants in here I'm going to show you in a moment. Right, so I've opened it, and actually all of the plants in here, they're doing great. This is a Christmas moss growing on top of driftwood. All of it is growing on top of driftwood. I think all over there it grows in soil, but they seem to be doing great actually. And the bromeliads, calathea, anthurium, philodendron, they're all doing great and growing. So I will be using all of this in my future Reparium projects very soon, and I'm quite happy that they have managed to survive. I usually spray them with water once in a few days, and it's a very moist environment in here. Right, as you can see, I've got quite a few fish tanks in here which I'm going to be hopefully using. This is one of the shallow tanks I've had in our living room. also great for Reparium projects. This is a broken terrarium which I'm going to use as a vivarium. I need to silicone in some new glasses. Over here I've got our tall tank which I've used before for growing zebra plecos, and yeah, there's a few small tanks scattered around, and yeah, so this large shallow tank, it will actually stand in here, kind of in the center of our lounge slash living room. So I need to make a stand for it, and I've got lots of plywood left from an old wardrobe which was in this apartment, so I need to kind of saw it off, and I need to build a stand for this tank from this plywood. I've got a saw for that, a circular saw, so I'm going to be making this stand kind of a custom made stand, because this fish tank, it has very specific parameters, so it's very difficult to find a ready-made stand for it. Yeah, so that's the plan for the near future, to set up this project, and hopefully this will be a very beautiful setup with plants growing all the way on the wall. Maybe I'll create some sort of a background for it, but that's not it. Over here we have some sort of a storage room. It's kind of a under the stairs space, which is now used for all sort of stuff we have for house repair and construction and so on, painting things. It has quite a lot of space in here. It's kind of used as a storage at the moment, but I will use it as a small fish room actually, because there is a space here to put a stand. I have a kind of a black metal stand in here, and 2 rows of tanks in here. It's hard to show you the exact amount of the space, but it's quite sufficient for a small fish room. It also has some electricity access in here somewhere. It has an electricity socket in here, so I would be able to connect sinks, and it has light, but I will install my own lights in here. And yeah, that's a plan actually. That's where I plan to have at least 5 or 4 more tanks installed for breeding, quarantine, and all sort of things alongside my display tank. Okay, that's update for now, and right now I'm going to show you some photos of our previous bedroom Reparium, and how basically I shut it down, how I broke it into parts, and how I tried to preserve riparian plants, and how I transported the fish. So this will be sort of a narrated collection of photographs. Alright, so until the next update. In the last days of this setup, it looked a bit abandoned, but it actually has grown quite well. So there were lots of pothos growing on top, lots of peace lilies, so the plants were certainly thriving and prospering, and it was quite a sad decision to break it down, to kind of tear it into pieces, but it just had to be done. And this is literally the last hours of this setup, and this is how it looked like after I removed all the plants and I started dismantling this background, this 3D riverbank background. And these are the plants actually. These are peace lilies, and both of them, I think there were 3 of them, they were almost 1 meter tall. I packed them into these plastic boxes, hoping that they will survive there. I kept their roots wet, and this is one of the peace lilies in a pot, but sadly didn't survive as well. And the tank, when it was empty,